WWE is shocked by Claudio Castagnoli's AEW debut. We have an update on Santana following AEW Blood and Guts, and Adam Cole's injury is believed to be very serious. Stay tuned for the news. So we're kicking things off today with a little trip back to last Sunday with Forbidden Door. Did you enjoy the show?
Yes, it was very good. I thought the ending kind of fell a little bit flat for me personally, but the show overall was bloody fantastic.
It was a very good show top to bottom, and one of the highlights, of course, was Claudio Castagnoli making his debut with AEW. What a pop he received there.
Oh my god, one of the biggest pops I think I've ever heard.
It was wild, and it was just that you could hear the noise flood over the crowd. It was like a Mexican wave of cheers and having the audience realize who it is. But Dave Meltzer is reporting in the Wrestling Observer today that a lot of WWE talent and WWE officials are actually shocked to see Claudio in AEW. The man formerly known as Cesaro made his debut, and it was quite big, as we've said. Meltzer's reporting that due to the size of the offer WWE gave him, it was a genuine surprise to see him there. What was the quote, Andrew?
So Dave's saying the feeling is AEW must have matched or topped it. And in WWE, the feeling was that AEW was no longer doing that, and that Castagnoli would have made a very substantial amount of money in WWE, even though there was little chance of a push. So basically, through Dave's bloody turning and swerving there, right? AEW must have matched or topped what WWE had put on the table for him.
Which is probably a lot of money.
I mean, a lot of money, right? A lot of money.
If they're shocked by it, then
Absolutely.
The fact that it's probably a lot that he's turned down, and the fact AEW's matching it when he's admitted there that it's not really something they've been doing for the past few months. They've been bringing talent in, but they've not really been matching WWE's offers from what we've heard.
Yeah, so he goes on to continue. He says, it also could be, at his age, being 41, he may have wanted a chance to show he was a top talent before there is more of a physical decline due to his age, and he would not get the chance again. Khan had noted some time back being a big fan of Castagnoli's wrestling and his in-ring IQ. So basically, it seems as though Cesaro was very much wanting to kind of portray what he is able to do. In WWE, obviously, he was quite restricted in what he could do. There were moments where we were like, oh my goodness, he's going to get a big push.
So many breakthrough moments that just didn't quite go the way we wanted them to.
And we didn't quite get there. And I think, do you know what? Absolutely, all the more power to Claudio in this, because I think he absolutely deserves. He is getting a little bit older now. Obviously, you know, we tend to see wrestlers kind of start to slow down
in their 40s, but he's the way he was moving in the ring on both Sunday and on Dynamite, it's insane. 41 years old. I want to be moving that well when I'm 41.
Oh, me too. I've like popped something in my leg and I'm hobbling around now.
I'm same today. I've got a bad back. I'm like,
not good.
Something's clicked, and
it's not good.
But he's doing he's up swinging folk around the top of a cage, and it's insane. But of course he left WWE back in February. He was with the company for over 10 years. I'm really excited to get him to see some new things from him. Hopefully get that big push.
Me too. Fingers crossed. I think Tony, there's a lot of storyline potential for Claudio with a lot of people who's wrestled in the indies before, some people who has wrestled in WWE before too that could carry on within AEW. I think there's a lot of potential for Claudio, and whether or not he becomes a world champion or either just is a fantastic TNT or All Atlantic champion remains to be seen. But I've got very high hopes for this young whippersnapper.
This young man that's joined the company. What's your dream match for Claudio Castagnoli in AEW?
Oh, well, I think for a lot of people, it's got to be the Eddie Kingston and Claudio one, right? Like, I want to see that so bad, because that is going to be a huge... It's loads of history, and them two together, finally having like what I'd assume would be the final blow-off for both men, and I think it'd be phenomenal. What about you?
It'll be Eddie Kingston or Kenny Omega if he needs to come back.
That's a good shout.
Him and Danielson, even though they're going to be in this stable together, it'd be a really good match to see. But we're going to stick with some AEW news just now, and the backstage reaction to what was many people's match of the night, Ospreay versus Orange Cassidy. Now, it was one match that I think people went, really? What, Ospreay, Orange Cassidy before the event? Because it wasn't the typical match you'd expect from Ospreay.
No.
It was more, Orange Cassidy doing a lot of comedy work.
Yes.
But Meltzer again reporting in the Wrestling Observer that the backstage reaction to the match in AEW, the locker room went crazy, as did as did the fans.
We've said this multiple times, I think, on the news and in other videos too. Like, I don't think it should have come as a surprise to a lot of people, because we've seen, you know, Pac and Orange Cassidy have a fantastic match before, and we've seen Kenny Omega, Pac and Cassidy all together have a fantastic match too. Like, we said this before too, but you know, the way he's booked in AEW can sometimes feel as though he's just sort of there for the comedic value rather than his actual in-ring acumen, which is something that can be easily forgotten when he's not booked to sort of pull out the moves all the time and whatnot, you know, right? So to finally get this moment where he wrestles what a lot of people consider one of the best in the world.
One of the best in the world. Yeah, top 5 for sure.
And absolutely take him to his limits too, and kick out of all sorts and this, that, and the other. There's no surprise to me that everybody was absolutely popping off backstage.
Oh, the reaction when we were watching it. I think you and Tom were on stream, right?
Oh my god,
it was a great match. But we're going to stick with some more AEW news just now. Kenny Omega has obviously been out of action since November last year, when he lost the AEW World Heavyweight Championship to Hangman Page, and since then there's been quite a few reports saying, you know, there's what the extent of his injuries are. Staying with the Wrestling Observer, Meltzer is once again reporting that there is no timetable for Omega's return right now, but his return should be significant. Although he will get a babyface reaction, they probably want to go against it and stay heel. So that's maybe some indication of some future plans. Maybe keep Kenny Omega as a heel in the company.
It'll be tough though, I think, for Kenny Omega when he comes back, because I think the natural reaction for everybody seeing this person who I think a lot of us are kind of, we really want him back now. We like him a lot, exactly. And what is it? Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
And I think when he finally does come back, it's gonna please a lot of people.
It will indeed. I mean, Meltzer goes on to say that it's a tough one bringing him back, because he'd be bigger as a face, at least, especially when you come back. You get those return pops. I think the one that always springs to mind was Seth Rollins back in Money in the Bank in 2016, where he came in, attacked Roman. It was a big baby face pop. He immediately turns heel. So I could see them maybe doing that here. Kenny comes back, looks like he's going to be a face, and then pulls the rug out with Don Callis. But they're obviously a very good heel act. I really enjoyed their run over the past, I say few months. The months last year. It's a year ago that they've been doing
is it? God, it feels longer and shorter at the same time. Right. It's one of those things where, like, I think Kenny Omega is a prime example of someone who pulls off fantastic storytelling in wrestling, and like when someone like him obviously takes time off for injuries and whatnot on a show, it's a shame, because he was obviously a huge part of one of the biggest storylines in AEW, if not the biggest storyline in AEW that's been between him and Hangman Page and everything. And when you kind of lose a little bit of something like that, a little bit of substance in terms of storyline, it's quite sad.
I can't wait to see him back. Hopefully I want to see another match between him and Hangman.
Yes, please.
I think even Hangman having got to the top, give us a rematch, and they'll
let
be
them come back together. Let them kiss.
Like
them kiss in the ring.
Do it. Come on, Tony, book it, please. But we're actually staying on more injury news. We've got an update on Santana following AEW Blood and Guts on Wednesday night. He suffered an injury pretty much as soon as he got into the match. He delivered an Uranagi, and his knee crumpled. I think that's the only word we can really say for it.
He seemed, when he went down, kind of a lot of, like, all the weight of perhaps, you know, his opponent and himself going down, kind of just all on that knee.
But we've got an update on the injury again, courtesy of the Wrestling Observer, who says they had to slightly rework the match, but the match didn't change, too much past the spot where he was supposed to powerbomb Jake Hager through a table, and that didn't happen. The fear was a torn ACL initially, which would require major surgery and keep him out of action for a while, but we didn't get anything confirmed as for what his MRI showed at press time when this was published. It's really sad to see him go out with an injury.
It is.
It's one of those things you never want to see someone get injured, but especially on such a big match for him. And it was such a big spot. He's in the main event of a special Dynamite, and he goes out within minutes.
That's what me and Sam were saying yesterday. Like, it is such a shame, because this was the huge blow for both factions coming together at loggerheads, and just like making sure everything hopefully now is one and done with that whole entire feud. And like you were saying, to come in and then unfortunately be taken out due to injury is just it's a really sad thing to see. But hopefully he's all right. We don't really know the full extent of the
we don't know
injury
the
just yet.
extent or how long it could potentially take him out.
Yeah.
It could be something way more serious than we're expecting, or it could be. Hopefully,
Fingers
it's not
crossed.
as bad as we expect it to be. But hopefully, he will return at some point. But speaking of returns, we have a slight update. It's a very
It's
little.
like that big, everybody.
It's a very small update. Bailey should be back somewhat soon.
Ooh.
Thanks, Dave Meltzer.
Thank you, pal.
So that's your update on Bailey, but could we see her tomorrow night at Money in the Bank?
We could see. I think. I mean, that would be fantastic. But with SummerSlam, just round the corner, and if you want to potentially sell some tickets, you could maybe start teasing something happening or leaking little bits out here and there.
You've got a booker mindset.
Well, I'm just thinking. I think for one of WWE's biggest pay-per-views of the year, the Big Four and whatnot, like I think SummerSlam would be a very, very good time for her to just like come back. Maybe like set the scene for being the next potential challenger for whichever championship she decides to go for.
I would quite like to have seen her with the Money in the Bank briefcase. I think that would be a great spot for her. But as you said, SummerSlam is kind of where the angles are going to be, especially with Money in the Bank no longer being in a stadium. It's not a big show as it was originally planned to be. So yeah, maybe Money in the Bank. Let us know down in the comments below where you'd like to see Bailey come back, because I'd be quite intrigued. But we've got more injury news. This is a very injury heavy, isn't it? It's a very injury heavy news today. But Adam Cole is the topic of this one. During Sunday's Forbidden Door pay-per-view, Adam Cole unfortunately was added to there's so many injured people at the moment, Andrew.
Bless him.
Cole was wrestling with a torn labrum, which is a shoulder, but he's pushed through that to compete at the pay-per-view last Sunday, and during his match it was quite clear he was injured towards the end of it, and it's now been revealed that it's a concussion, which has been described as very serious. You never want to hear concussion news.
Absolutely not.
It's one of those injuries that wasn't taken serious about 20 years ago, and now when you hear it, it's like shudders. You don't want anyone to get a concussion at all. This is what led to the rushed and awkward finish to the four-way match, and it's believed that Cole will take time off to rehab or surgically fix his shoulder, although this would result in a long time out of action. And he's been kind of in action very frequently. Yeah,
I think more sort of recently, somewhat sparingly, in terms of he was in the he was in the Owen Hart Tournament Cup, obviously won that too, but then was used kind of on commentary a little bit, perhaps to maybe make sure he's still on TV, but he's keeping away and not really making any more damage happen to the shoulder there. And it's just so unfortunate, obviously, in AEW, in wrestling right now, there's so many injuries that are happening across the board. And I think this is Adam Cole, one of AEW's biggest players as well at the moment.
Yeah,
and then
totally.
For him to be out of action now, it's such a shame. And I just hope he gets better. I think we all hope he gets better very, very soon.
If he's got a torn shoulder, it's I don't want to say it's a blessing in disguise, this concussion, but if he was going through, like, just fighting through the pain of the shoulder injury and just going, I can still work, I want to stay out there, this will give him that time to heal and sort of recover from that, because you don't want that shoulder injury getting worse and worse. And we saw, of course, going back to the Kenny Omega news, we saw him build up injuries for months and months and months, and it finally, he's been on the shelf for 9 months almost, right?
Yeah, right. And then he came out as well saying, if I get one more major setback, then that's it, I'm done. And that is not what we want. That's not what you want.
So hopefully Adam Cole will take some time to recover here. It will be sad to see him out of action, but that's the way the cookie crumbles.
It is, unfortunately.
But that is all the news we have for today. I'll be back tomorrow with Sam first thing with some more news. So make sure you stay tuned with that. We've got the podcast going up tonight, and it is Money in the Bank weekend.
It's Money in the Bank
So
weekend.
your predictions are on the channel now. You can go and watch them. Then you've got the reactions.
On Saturday night, we got the reactions. You'll have what happened not long after the pay-per-view with Jack the Jobber, and WTF Moments 2 with Ross. Not to forget, it might have already happened right now, right? Okay. It might have already happened, but you should be able to go back and watch it if it has already happened. Myself and Sam Driver will be playing through the whole Money in the Bank card on WWE 2K22 on YouTube at 3 p.m. BST today, Friday. But if it's already happened,
thanks for watching, or going back and watch it again.
Do that.
So do that. That'll be really good fun. But thanks for joining us. We will be back later. So we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.